NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months. It's SaveWithConrad.com.
Say yeah.
Tore it down, waiting on them, but they're here now. Here they come to burn the town. Like Conrad and Double A, they'll send your soul to Judgment Day. Respect the past and what it say. You better move your ass out of the way.
Hello, wrestling friends. I'm Matt Kuhn, which means you're listening to Say Yeah. Dax Harwood, FTR with Dax Harwood. Dax, you're back on TV again. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, back in full swing of things and right in the middle of everything. It's after 2 months off, it's definitely one of those things that's completely altering my everyday life, dude. Just flying, man. Like getting off the plane after, like I said, 2 months off of not flying at all, fucked my hips up, dude. So we flew to the pay-per-view, which was in San Francisco. Yeah. Flew back that night, stayed home for a couple of days, flew back to Sacramento on Wednesday morning, flew back home, that night. And that's cross country for me twice. And each time was 3 hours of plane sleep throughout the night. And that was it. So it messed me up for a little bit, but I'm back on track. I'm good to go, feeling good. And it was a lot of fun. This week of TV was a lot of fun.
You explained to me, I think off air, about how when you get to the venue or you get to San Francisco, you're probably not going to sleep. And it's not necessarily anxiety. Is it just excitement about doing what you get to do again? Like you're running through the shit in your head. Is that the issue, like with sleep and being on the road?
Well, the pay-per-view for sure. It was just there was a lot of things going into the pay-per-view as far as like not being able to sleep. It was because of I was worried about the reaction, and I was excited, ready to come back to work. So that was that. But even outside of the excitement of coming back, making a comeback. When you do TV, when you work TV, it's just hard after that big high, especially if you have a match that night. If you have a big match and you're proud of that match, it's hard to come down from that. You heard so many horror stories from back in the 80s when they were on the road all the time, is they would take something to get them up, and they have to take something to keep them down, to get them back down so they could sleep. And that's the reason why, is because that euphoric high you get from being in front of 5, 10, 15, 20,000 people, and the reactions you get and that feeling, it's just hard to come down from that. That was the hardest thing for me in WWE was that schedule. But also, you think about it, when you're on the road, you're trying to, every single night, you're trying to come down from that high, and you get a couple of hours of sleep and wake up the next morning and do it all over again. So that's to me, the hardest, one of the hardest things.
And of course you were on Dynamite this past week. You told us on air you were going to be on Dynamite. You guys came out and got an in-ring promo. That is not a regular occurrence in the FTR world. The last one I remember was the Finley promo, the fight like an 8-year-old girl promo. Was that the first time you guys were in the middle of the ring talking since then?
Yep, for sure. And, that's something that I talked to Tony about. Me and Cash talked to Tony about, was like, dude, if we're gonna, this is full disclosure, and I hope I'm not saying anything out of place or out of turn, and I'm not trying to stir anything up.
I told you this before, Dax. No one's listening. No one's listening.
Yeah.
It's just me and you here, buddy.
Just us, buddy.
Whatever you say, it's not going to be written up or talked about. No one's going to talk to you about work. So feel free. Say whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for one reason or another, whatever it is, I felt last year, obviously, last year was the biggest year of FTR's career ever. And I mean that creatively, I mean that artistically, and I mean that as far as us getting over too. But I also feel, and I've said this before, I also feel that there was an opportunity missed. You think about it, you look back June or July, we were, and I'm saying this humbly, outside of Punk and AEW, and maybe Brian and Mox as well. We were, and please, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, and I won't take offense to it at all. But we were probably the hottest baby faces in the company at the time, and there were, we had on TV, there were no angles for us, no storylines, and we ended up having like between 6 and 7 tag team matches on television all year. And I feel like, and I felt like the boat was kind of missed on our momentum last year. Do you agree with me or disagree? I want you to be honest too.
Well, it's a weird thing for me because a few people have accused me of being like an FTR homer, and just like a big fan of Dax Harwood and everything. But over the year, I think everybody felt that. Conrad Thompson, who, is a friend of mine and you know him as well, he tweeted, "I miss FTR" over the summer, for that reason. You guys were disappeared and you were thrown together in that match with the Briscoes. You created your own momentum. Then you had the Finley promo. You guys had a lot of momentum and it wasn't taken advantage of.
And that's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel. And, with me saying that, I'm sure there are going to be a ton of fans that say that I'm complaining or, I've got a bad attitude. And I'm sure there's going to be peers as well and coworkers. But it's not that. It's just I just feel like there was our momentum was missed. I mean, the opportunity to capitalize on that momentum was missed. And I told Tony, Cash did as well, that, in coming back, if we stick around, because, we've had talks about what's going to make us happy or what we need to do to stay here. And what it is like, of course, I would love to have great matches. I would love to have a great match in what fans consider, a great tag team match. I would love to have that every single week. But that doesn't help us grow as characters, but also as entities in people's minds. What we need to connect with them on a deeper level. And to do that, like, for example, the 8-year-old girl promo, after I cut that promo, I feel like we got even more over than any kind of 5-star match would have made us. And so, we told Tony those are the things that we need. We need an opportunity to speak so that people can feel for us one way or the other. If they only feel for us as in we're great wrestlers, there's a ceiling to that. But we got to make them feel. We got to humanize ourselves and make them feel for us. So that's, I think that's Tony maybe trying to make good and show that, hey, he's on board. He wants to make this right. But yes, that's the first time we've had an opportunity to really speak since the Finley promo. And, maybe those are the only 2 opportunities we've really had to speak in the ring.
Hypothetically, though, you're going to do a match with the Guns. That's what all this is heading. Anybody who's been watching wrestling for any amount of time can see that's what's going on. And you said, hey, we're these guys who are over. We are baby faces now. They hit the music. Everybody claps. Everybody sees it. But after the Guns, but AEW, it seems like, has a whole roster full of people that are being cheered. So if you're being cheered, who is left for you guys after the Guns for you guys to wrestle that's going to lead to your characters growing?
Well, I think that's another thing as well for us is whatever we decide to do, wherever we decide to go. I feel that we need, I can already see all the bad things being said about me, but I feel like we are finally over. finally over. And I feel like started last year, and I think now that we were gone for a little bit, we came back, and the people actually missed us, man, and we missed them. That's the sign of being over, not just being cheered. You know what I'm saying? Not just being cheered or getting "this is awesome" chants or people popping for your move. That's not over. Being over is making these people feel. And I'm just so blessed and fortunate that Dash, oh my God, I call him Dash. What the hell? Cash and I, Cash and I are fortunate enough. These people do feel a certain way about us. And I feel that they also feel that we feel a certain way about them. So it's reciprocated. But, if we stick around in AEW, after the thing with the guns is over with, we have to be presented as main event level guys. We have to be presented, no pun intended, as top guys. We need to work with main event level talent, because if we don't get an opportunity to sink our teeth, FTR's teeth into something that people perceive to be main event level stuff, main event quality stuff, then the same thing that happened last year is going to happen this year, I feel. So for me, like, for example, it seems like the Blackpool Combat Club kind of have a new attitude, and they're, they look at things differently now than they did just a few weeks ago. And the people don't really like him for it. And Moxley has been presented as a main event level guy for 3 years straight here in AEW. But outside of even AEW, before that, he was presented as a main event level guy there. So he's got a built-in equity. And so I feel that if, after us and the guns are done, if we stuck around with AEW, we need to work with someone like that. We need to work with like a Mox and Claudio. And I guess I'll say it and see what happens or what gets said. But, I think right now is the perfect opportunity for FTR to work with the Young Bucks and get an actual angle, get an actual feud, and see who really is the best tag team in the world. That's something that I think in AEW should happen.
And could be a top of the card feud.
Yes. That's the thing. Like, and if we have one angle that's the top of the card feud, main event feud, then the people have a perception of us, and then we can continue to grow, and the people we work with can grow as well. But that's my opinion of what we could do here.
One final question. You mentioned House of Black. You've seen it. I know you've seen it. CMFTR, right? Or Wardlow and FTR. Would you be interested in that being something you guys do, is kind of getting involved in the 6-man thing? Or do you guys have so much equity built up in the tag thing, and you love the tag thing, and that's what you feel you are? Do you feel like that might not be something you're interested in?
I think right now, I feel that we still haven't reached our peak as far as characters go for FTR. I think right now we need to put the foot on the gas for us and see what we can do, and see where we can go. And I think we need to grow that. And then once we grow our brand and we're looked at in a light of main event level talent, then we could, if things happened, we could, branch off into 6-man tag. But right now, my focus is on Cash and I. My focus is what we can do to better ourselves, better our position on the card wherever we decide to go, better our lives, but also better our stock too, and and how we're presented and how we can present ourselves. And then, if we take advantage of that, I've talked to Cash about this too. If we take advantage of that opportunity and that momentum, and FTR reaches a peak and reaches the zenith of tag team wrestling, then after that's over, then maybe we could hypothetically branch off and do a couple of singles things too, and then grow that way. And I'm not saying we would leave each other or we would break up, because that would never happen. Never, never, never will that happen. We'll never break up at all. But once we reach a certain point in tag team wrestling, like Arn and Tully did, they were pulled away from each other every once in a while and put in singles feuds, so they would have Arn and Tully work with Sting and Nikita Koloff and have an angle with those guys. But then they break them off, and Tully would go and work with Dusty. You know what I mean? And
right.
or Arn would go in and do some stuff with Barry. So I feel that Cash and I, if we hit that point in the tag team division where we're looked at as main event level talent, then we could branch off and do some single stuff. But to play devil's advocate too, man, like for WWE,
like who would you want to work with in WWE if you had the opportunity to tag there? I mean, not to, people say that I'm anti WWE, but if you look at that tag division, there's a lot of ready-made things going on there that you guys could do good with if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, first on the list is got to be the Usos, right? They're probably
sure.
the most over tag team in the world right now. And I say that with a chip on my shoulder. Like, that pisses me off because I feel like we should be. And that's what I think we should be presented, how we should be presented. Like, you could take those guys singles or tag and put them in a main event spot right now, and no one would bat an eye at it,
Yeah.
and they could work with anybody. But that's where I would like to go immediately, is with those guys.
If you went to WWE, that's where you would like to go. Sorry, I would have.
Yeah, right. Please do keep me out of trouble. But then,
what about Sammy and Kevin? If Sammy and Kevin become a tag team, Revival versus Sammy and Kevin would be amazing.
Yeah, and like Kevin's been on top of the card, plenty of times too, and Sammy right now is the hottest baby face over there, and so that would be a main event angle for us to work with those guys too. Even if they keep them together, which I hope. I don't know. I don't know if I hope they do or hope they don't, but Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, Street Profits, incredible awesome, tag team, and they're both individually great. It's going to take a little longer for Angelo Dawkins to get over than it has for Montez Ford, because his charisma is one of these charismas that it's inside of him. It's one of those things like a Jeff Hardy charisma, or even kind of like a Goldberg charisma too. I'm not comparing him to Goldberg or Jeff Hardy, so please, news sites, don't say that. What I'm saying is the charisma factor that Dawkins has, and I grew up with him in the WWE business, so I've seen it and I've heard it. He's very entertaining, but also he can go in the ring, dude. I dare say in the ring he's better than Montez Ford. But
I've tweeted a lot about that, honestly. Like, Dawkins is someone I've watched wrestle for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I think he might be the most underrated wrestler in WWE. Like, I see it. I absolutely see, like, for me as a fan, the main event potential. I think he might be the best hot tag in wrestling. Like, he is really putting it together.
Yeah, he's incredible. But, I'd like to work with them. Obviously, I'd love to rekindle stuff with Chad Gable. And if Randy and God dang, what is his name?
Riddle.
Riddle. Yes.
Yeah.
Randy and Riddle, if they come back, that would be incredible. That'd be a great opportunity for me and Cash too. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things over there we could do as well. But ultimately, that's the thing, man, is like, we have to be, for us, I want us to be looked at and compared to the main event level guys, or at least right under there. I'm not saying we should be world heavyweight champion, or we should work with Roman Reigns every single week, or we should work with Chris Jericho every single week. I just want to be in the same conversation as that group of guys.
Well, there you go, guys. And things are getting rather interesting as your contracts are winding down, as you're back on TV, as no one knows what you guys are going to do next. And if you want to talk about it with us at our live show, March 30th in Los Angeles at the Biltmore, which is the home of WrestleCon, 8 p.m. Get your tickets at FTRWithDax.com. We have two guys who just fought each other on Dynamite for a title. Hobbs and Wardlow will be in the building together. We've also got Cash joining you for some FTR stuff. We've got all the pinnacle that we want at the show. We have Sean Spears, Wardlow, you, Cash. What a show. And guys, get your tickets now. No questions will be off limits. No things will be off limits. And we're going to be drinking some tequila. So that might be the last thing we ever do. So you might want to come see it. How excited are you for it now, Dax?
I'm very excited for it, dude. I'm looking forward to it so much. I've never done anything like this. I've never been involved in anything like this at all. And having my friends there is gonna soften that blow a little bit. But it's gonna be a good talk. You know, we'll talk with Hobbs and his upbringing and where he came from and how he fought adversity and made it to the biggest, one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world. You know, and a lot of the things that people don't know about his personal life, I think he'll be willing to talk about and show you, man, that if someone like him can make it, dude, anybody can almost make it in this world. And then, you know, I got my best friend Cash, and we've got, you know, decades of stuff to talk about. Growing up on the Indies, North Carolina, how hard it was for us to make it here. 5'10" Southerners talking the way that we talk, you know, me with a bald head, and how, you know, his coming up in WWE and what he was told by John Laurinaitis that he, you know, how he would never make it in the WWE. So I think we can get to stories like that. And then, you know, Ronnie, who's seen it all, been there, done that, come through every developmental system there was. And also, you know, maybe the most underutilized talent of all time. And I think right now he's got the biggest chip on his shoulder than he's ever had on his career. So ain't no telling what he's going to say, especially if there's a little bit of tequila involved. And then Wardlow, one of the best looking men in the world. And I think with him there, myself, Cash, and Sean Spears there, you get a lot of inside talk, a lot of inside baseball on the Pinnacle, what went right initially, what went wrong for the rest of the time, and who we may not have cared for, who we may have loved, and what could have been. So I'm looking forward to it, dude. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun for us, fun for the fans too, and the opportunity to have a couple of drinks with us, and you know, and just fraternize.
Yeah, fraternize
with my
fellowship.
brothers.
You fellowship and hang out, drink tequila. It's gonna be the biggest party and the best kickoff to the biggest wrestling weekend of the year. It's gonna be FTR with Dax live with all those special guests, maybe some surprises. Who knows? Anything could happen. Anything really can happen. But we're gonna have some drinks. If you get the VIP, not only do you get to get in early, but you also get to hang out afterwards. And we'll have a little social together, and we'll talk a little bit, maybe stuff that's even off the record. Y'all are going to LA anyway. If you're going anyway, you might as well come to the kickoff show and get started. And then you'll have like a couple days to sober up before the big show. It should be.
And I dare the people to come. I dare you. I beg of you to please ask us anything you want. Nothing is off limits. All right. Nothing is off limits. And I'm pretty sure you'll get a decent response.
It's going to be a good time. We're going to do some drinking. And I think we're going to do some drinking now. We're going to do our tequila of the week. Dax Harwood, of course, today we're going to be talking about our March Madness brackets. You and I aren't really mathematicians, so we didn't realize we had to get through 32 of them last week. We're going to go through 16 of them this week, and then do a watch along and talk a little bit about American Alpha versus the Revival. I was in the back seat, the back row of that venue. Luckily, it was like a 5,000 person venue. And now I'm front seat, and we get to talk about that. It's going to be a great show, everybody. Dax, do you have a tequila of the week?
I absolutely do. I've got my favorite brand, one of my favorite brands. It's going to switch up between Cascanes, Fortaleza, and this one here, which is G4. G4 is been in the same family for 4 generations, and it is produced in Jalisco, Mexico. And this one here is their Blanco, but it is a special Blanco. It's the Madeira Blanco, and it is a 90 proof Blanco. This one is fermented. I'll get a little close up of that here for people watching at home. This one's fermented in wooden vats, and like I said, bottled at 45% ABV. Excuse me. And this one is verified by Matchmaker.com as 100% additive free, and it is like I said, G4, great brand. Everyone I've had, I think we've done the Añejo here before, but I've never been disappointed in G4. And now I guess we will crack it open, let it air out a little bit. 4 generations of distillers, which is phenomenal. They've kept it in the family, kept the same recipe, kept the same distilling process, the same cooking process. And so we got that all.
You're never going to run out of tequilas, are you?
Well, maybe when I lose my job. Maybe
Like this is like episode 11 or 12 or something, and you're still strong. Lots of tequilas.
Yeah,
so
a lot that I haven't even tried yet. Yeah, there's a lot that I haven't tried.
You're going to go ahead and see the legs of it. And
the legs, the viscosity of it. Let's put it in just a little. It's hard to see on this shitty ass camera. But again, like a lot of tequilas will put glycerin in their tequila to make the mouth feel a little thicker, to make the legs of it, the viscosity of it a little thicker, but not G4, which is what I love. They also can put like 1% of certain additives like sweeteners, a caramel flavoring, oak flavoring, smoky flavoring, or flavoring, scented stuff. G4 doesn't do that at all. But right now, let's give it a little sniff. Off the bat, agave, which is what I love. Cooked agave. I can smell the black pepper because it tickles my nose. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that.
that's why you always say black pepper. You always feel the black pepper first.
Olives. I get a scent of olives. A lot of minerality too. The earthiness of the agave. The cooked agave, man, that's the number one thing you always want to smell and taste. And so now we're going to give it a little swig. Ooh. Yeah, definitely taste the olives. The agave for sure is their number one thing. Pepper hits immediately. Usually pepper hits on the back end, but it hit me immediately. Maybe a little like, I don't know if I want to say jalapeno heat, but maybe some sort of like grown pepper, not just black pepper too, like maybe a green pepper or something.
Yeah, like a poblano or pasilla pepper, which is a little bit larger and a little less spicy.
This is good, dude. This is maybe my favorite Blanco. Like I said, it's not a traditional Blanco because it is 45% ABV, 90 proof. Yeah, it's incredible. Let me get one more little sip and we'll give it a grade here.
And that is again G4. And we had someone reach out to us who might be meeting you in Philly with some G4. And
that would be great.
And I might even come up to Philly. We'll see. Anything can happen this weekend.
Oh, you should. Hell yeah.
You're going to be up there March 18th at Icons of Wrestling with Cash signing.
Yep.
And in Philadelphia.
I fly in that day, fly right back out that day too. So let's have some fun. G4 Madeira, dude. Like I said, that black olive taste, I love that. Like I don't even like olives very much, but I love the hit of black olives, the black pepper too. But on the back end is that like green pepperish kind of thing. Very forward agave, minerally, earthy. I love that, dude. That's when you know it's a good quality tequila. I'm gonna give this a man. All things considered. Let's give it. I'm going to give it an 8.9. God, no, one more. Hold on.
He needs to do more research. Hold on one second, folks.
I'm going to give it a clean score of 9.0.
9.0. For those of you keeping track at home on your spreadsheets, the G4 is a 9.0. And speaking of spreadsheets, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Speaking of spreadsheets, we're going to hit our brackets again. We reduced it down to 32. But before we do, Blue Chew. You heard of Blue Chew before? I think you have.
Blue Chew.
Because the nights they're getting I think they're getting shorter now. But the breeze is the only thing isn't the only thing getting stiff right now. It's time for some Blue Chew. And guys, you know the deal with Blue Chew. All you got to do is you go to bluechew.com, promo code DAX, and you receive your first month free. If you haven't done it, now's the time. Give it a shot. It's $5 for shipping and handling, and you get to see what everybody is talking about. You know, Dax ain't lying. You know, we ain't lying. You know, everybody loves going to bluechew.com and getting this unique service that it delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but the tablets are chewable and a fraction of the cost. And that means you can take them anytime, day or night. You don't have to take it in the morning and wait 10 hours. And, it's just the most convenient possible way without any awkward conversations, no doctor's trips, none of that stuff, guys. It's bluechew.com/DAX, and you get that first month free. If this is something that you think you might need or something that you might want, bluechew.com/DAX is the way to go. And I can't implore you more. Just while you're listening, go and hit it up. Dax is a enthusiastic sponsor, as is, I believe, Maria. Of
I don't know. I don't know about that. She might think the opposite. She's like, brother, please back off. Damn.
She's going through your desk night drawer and throwing it away. That's what she's doing. She's like, why Blue Chew? Dax Harwood, enthusiastic sponsor of Blue Chew. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And yes, the nights are getting shorter, but my hog is not getting shorter thanks to Blue Chew. Ryan Nemeth, hog, shout out to you. Yeah, dude, I haven't had an opportunity to use my Blue Chew this week. So I don't have a great story like I usually do, but because I had to fly to California back and home twice, and then, like I told you before we got on air, I had a couple of friends come and visit. I hadn't been able to use my Blue Chew this week, but I can tell you this, as soon as I'm done, I might pop a Blue Chew and go upstairs and see what Miss Maria is up to, because Miss Maria, dude, like I told you before, she's got that fat old Greek ass, and just thinking about it right now is making me not even need the Blue Chew, but I want the Blue Chew. I've got to have the Blue Chew. And that's the thing, man. Just because you necessarily don't need it, it's just something you want. Just something you want.
Extra confidence.
Just a little extra confidence, but a little extra playtime too. You know what I mean? Like, it can take you throughout the night and maybe a little bit longer. And that's what the thing is. There's no reason to be embarrassed by it. That's always going to happen to us as we get older. But also realize that you don't need it just because you're getting older. You want it and you need it to just make sure the relationship for the night, maybe for the rest of your life, whichever you decide to choose, is a little bit better. And Blue Chew is here to keep relationships going.
Yeah. And, take it from Dax. You do not want to take a Blue Chew and just get on an airplane. You want to.
Or maybe you do. Maybe it's a little game.
All situations are different, for sure.
Yeah.
But guys, go to bluechew.com/Dax and find out what the hubbub's about. And, get back to us. And like you said, no shame, because quite frankly, our women listenership is like 1.4%. So we're all just dudes here just talking, and enjoy the Blue Chew. Now let's enjoy something else that men enjoy, which is tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling. We got a lot of feedback about our March Madness, and it's going to get more and more as we kind of storm up to the finals. Any thoughts on the first round that we had, Dax?
Yeah, the first round was a little easier. I loved all the tag teams. Every single tag team I put on this list for a reason, because they've all done something for our business for the better. Now, moving on to this one, it's going to be a bit harder, man, because I see some of the matchups. Like I said,
ridiculous.
I'm going to choose. Yeah, I'm going to choose right here live on the podcast as we record. But it's going to be a lot harder, and this one's going to be a lot more ruffling of feathers for a lot of the fans. There's a few of them that I'm sure I'm going to pick, and they're not going to be happy about it, not understand why, but I have my reasons. And also, man, fuck it. That's why we gave you guys the opportunity to print off your bracket, so you can do whatever you want to. This is my opinion. My opinion just happens to be right, but this is what I think, what I feel, and I will give my reasons as to why I choose them.
Sure, be passionate, be opinionated, but if you have a list of things to be angry about, let's leave fictional tag team tournament off that list, folks. Let's just have fun with this.
And dude, if you are going to be mad, direct all your tweets to Conrad Thompson, please. He's the reason we're here, and he, just direct all the hate tweets to him. If you love us, direct them to us, please.
When I first met him, he had no appreciation for Crockett at all. Now he's Mr. Crockett. He had none. He had none. Like, for real.
Wow.
Like he used to be like, oh, and then I think he did that year-long watch along with Tony of like 85 or whatever. And now he's like, David Crockett's my favorite person on earth. Like
I would
Conrad
have never guessed that, dude. I guess what was he, a Northerner guy? I know he's a Southerner, but
he's WWE guy, but he's about your age. I'm a little older, so I grew up with it. And you're a guy who went back and watched the old stuff. Conrad's a fan, who grew up with the Ultimate Warrior as his favorite as a kid. It's a whole different thing. He saw Demolition before he saw LOD, like a lot of people.
See, I was fortunate that my dad was a fan, and he hated WWF. He loved NWA. He loved the Four Horsemen. And that's what I grew up with. Even when I became a fan of WWF, and they started doing monthly pay-per-views, he would only let us order the WCW pay-per-views because he hated WWF.
That's hilarious.
He always did. But yeah, I grew up initially as a fan of the NWA, later WCW. And then, I knew of Hulk Hogan, and I was kind of a fan of his, but not until the Brett situation came along that I actually started endearing myself to WWF.
Oh, we have tag teams from all over the world and all over all time periods. And I'd like to thank Floyd. Floyd's our guy. Floyd did these brackets for us and post them online because I was too lazy to do them. He put our winners up there. And this first bracket right here might be the end of our podcast. I'm just saying right now, it's a little rough. We're going to go with the one with the Rock and Roll Express in it. So we're going with Rock and Roll Express versus the Wild Samoans.
Right.
It's already sucked.
Yeah.
By the way, awesome match. Going to be an awesome match.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're going to beat the shit out of Rock and Roll. There's going to be a fiery comeback from Robert, and Ricky's going to have to come out on top because Rock and Roll Express completely changed the world of tag team wrestling. They could have and probably should have been hotter longer than what they were, but circumstances happened in JCP with Rock and Roll where they weren't getting paid fairly. Easy for me to say, and I commend Rock and Roll. For standing up for themselves and standing up for what they believe in, because they could have stayed and they could have been successful and made the money, but they knew they were getting the shit into the deal and they bounced. They left. But Rock and Roll created so many copycats, and I say that endearingly to the copycats that are felt today. I mean, the Rockers all the way up into the Hardy Boys to the Young Bucks. I mean, they created that style, and up until that point, there wasn't really any handsome, good-looking, young, fight from underneath baby faces. And I'm not just saying tag team wrestling. I'm saying in all of wrestling, because wrestling was looked at as this sport where it's men who are men's men. They drink, they love to fight, they get down and dirty. But not Ricky and Robert, dude. They completely changed the landscape of all tag team wrestling and the structure of tag team matches. So as much as I love the Samoans and as much money as they made for New York at the time, Rock and Roll is going through on this one.
Worth mentioning that during that height of Crockett, Ricky Morton, as you said earlier, FTR could branch off into singles matches. For a moment, Ricky Morton was the hottest babyface in all wrestling. When he took on Ric Flair, and they did the thing where, he talked about the trading bras and all that, and he did the bump on the concrete floor outside, and then he did the phantom pin in the ring in front of a audience of 30. Ricky Morton was the hottest thing going for a moment.
Oh, for sure. And he could do it in singles wrestling too if he wanted to. But that's another thing that admire about Ricky is that he didn't. He brought Robert along with him. And Robert, if you ask anybody, Robert, his brother,
Ricky
Gibson,
right.
were incredible wrestlers. Maybe as a wrestler, I could be wrong, but maybe as a wrestler, quote unquote, he may be better than Ricky Morton. But Ricky, as the seller and understanding what he was, he knew, and that made him the bigger star. So
I once saw 3 years ago in Vegas, backstage at StarCast, Robert Gibson showing Frankie Kazarian reversals in the hallway, just randomly. And Frankie was like, he looked at me and he goes, "Man, you always learn new stuff." Like Robert Gibson is the real deal.
Yeah, for sure. As far as entering goes. And I beg of you guys to go back to January of last year and watch the match that Cash and I had with Ricky and Robert. Sold out. It was sold out in Spartanburg. The clash of two of the greatest tag teams of all time. It felt like a time machine. And I remember before the match, Ricky Morton said, "Hey, son, how old's your dad?" And I said, "Well, my dad's 63 years old." And he said, "Well, I'm 65. I'm 2 years older than your daddy. So you're going to take it easy on me out there. Okay, please." And I said, "Ricky, all due respect, you're going to have to jump up a little bit because I'm not taking it easy on you. Tonight, you guys are rock and roll of 85. And I'll be damned if both of those motherfuckers didn't put their working boots on. They were hitting Hurricane Ranas and flying head scissors.
Right.
And those people, dude, they were, oh God, I love that match so much. I love it so much. Those people were popping like it was 85. And I'm so proud. They're not done yet. They were supposed to be done last year. Ricky, you're going back on your word a little bit, but that's okay because you're Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. Y'all can do what you want. But I feel that Cash and myself gave Ricky and Robert their last great wrestling match because it was just like 85, man. And if you go back and watch that match, I beg you guys to please go back and watch that match. One of my most proud matches I've ever had. I think I can say the same for Cash too. I think I can say the same for Ricky and Robert as well. But this ain't about us. This is about
and also maybe we can get a hold of that and get it on our YouTube like we did the speedball match. So maybe we'll talk about some people.
I will get to work on that.
We spent a lot of time on rock and roll because I think they're going to go really far in this tournament. And I think they might be the most underappreciated team. So I think it was important to kind of educate some fans as to what the deal is with the rock and roll.
Isn't that crazy, dude? It is. They were maybe not as big, but right underneath as big as Hulk Hogan, man. At one time. I mean, go back and look at their gate receipts, And
they were headlining those shows against Russians and Midnights. Yeah.
Right. And it's so crazy that you say they're underappreciated and they were even underrated, as cliche as that is. They for sure are. At one time or another, they were the, maybe outside of Hogan, maybe the hottest baby faces in the world. And we're still talking about how undervalued they were.
And it was timing too, because we're talking about guys who never had a wrestling figure, right? Never had a wrestling figure, didn't have merch. We've heard a little bit about their fan club and what happened, the shenanigans there. Right. But time has forgotten them just because of the timing of it. If they came across 3 years later, 4 years later, oh my goodness. Everybody be talking about them the way they should. Next bracket. Hey, have fun with this one, Dax. I'm gonna set it out. Andersons versus Young Bucks. Go ahead. What you got?
This is the very first one that I'm gonna get my balls chopped off online. I honest to God, as soon as I wrote down R&R going on from the Samoans, I looked down and saw Andersons and Young Buck, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm either going to get in trouble with my employers or I'm going to get in trouble with the fans or all of them.
All you can do is be honest and let go of the results, right?
Yes. So Andersons, incredible tag team, right? Young Bucks, incredible tag team. They both changed the face of tag team wrestling. We'll start with the Andersons first. I don't know much about Gene and Lars, so I can't really speak on Gene and Lars. But I can speak on Gene and Ole, and they were in one territory for a very long period of time, and they made a ton of money in that territory for a period of time. And they worked over what people still do nowadays. It's kind of fallen to the wayside a bit, but still kind of revered. They worked a body part. They worked a body part until it was completely worn down. And then finally that babyface may have gotten away and gotten the hot tag. Same thing happened with Arn and Ole, right? The Minnesota Wrecking Crew, same type of thing happened, but Arn came along and made it more of a high speed athletic type contest. But
it was still always like the left arm. Like, how great is a tag team that 40 years later, I'm saying the left arm, like that is remarkable that they put that much of an imprint that you're like, watch out for that left arm because they're going to do it. Ole's going to come off the top with that knee and it's going to be a wrap.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the Young Bucks, man, that have, the position that they've been put in every promotion, whether it's a small independent promotion or the second biggest wrestling promotion in the world, AEW, and in between New Japan, AAA, everywhere else, they have made money for that company, and they've made something of themselves, and they've gotten themselves over, right? And they have obviously, outside of myself and Cash, they have changed the ideology of tag team wrestling. For good or for bad, whatever you think, whatever I think. They have changed the structure of tag team wrestling. Not a structure that Cash and I adopted, and not a structure we will adopt, because I would never want to be a second-rate Young Buck, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't do it the way they do it, but I can do it the way we can do it. And the way we can do it is fucking incredible. But the way they do it is great too.
And no one's come along and done that style better than them.
No, they've all tried. There's a ton of singles and tag teams that are tried, and it didn't work. Man, okay. Going into this decision, I didn't ask you last week at all because we're kind of on a time crunch. Who you chose? Who did you choose between Rock and Roll and Samoan? I would imagine Rock and Roll.
I would choose the Rock and Rolls just because there's just something about that undersized 5'0" tag team doing what they did in that time. And their influence, their influence was huge, right? I mean, from that point on, it became about two guys working together, not two singles, two guys working together to create this thing. Rock and Roll to me over the Samoans.
Okay, and now Andersons and Young Bucks, what do you think?
I have to go with the Young Bucks because because AEW. Like, very few tag teams they were such a big part of that. They were integral to that. I mean, what other tag teams could you start a company with? Like, just
you could start one with me and Cash.
That's true.
Hey, let's take it easy now.
Yeah, but
so you and I haven't disagreed very much, right? And today we're not going to start. I would choose the Young Bucks.
I'm so scared.
I'm not going to start. That's going to be so mad at me, dude. Oh my God, he's going to be so upset with me.
Who is?
But Jim Cornette's going to be upset with this podcast right now. Yeah. But I choose the Young Bucks. All the reasons you said. Please explain some more. Give you some time.
I was just the impact on the business, and at the same time, it's not. When you talk about Afa and Sika and their family, this is a crazy second round matchup, and neither team deserves to go home, but somebody has to. And for what the Young Bucks have done in the last 6 years, refusing WWE contracts, playing, having a style that was similar to other tag teams, but finding a way to differentiate themselves. I think marketing, presentation is a huge part of professional wrestling. I don't mind a Young Bucks match at all, quite honestly, but it's tough because Samoans are great too. But I got to go Young Bucks for what they have changed the wrestling landscape.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. I agree with you. I'm going to send Young Bucks through all the reasons you said. No need for me to reiterate anything. And I would probably do it with a little more visceral venom than you would. But yes, Young Bucks too.
Hey, so the next one we might disagree about.
Okay.
And this one is a matchup of teams that I don't know how many times they faced each other, if they did, but they were close. British Bulldogs, towards the end of their career in WWE, Dynamite getting injured, and then the Rockers come in, pretty much replacing the Bulldogs in a lot of ways. Rockers versus Bulldogs, who you got?
Never saw that match. That match never happened. I wish it would have happened. That would have been That would have been incredible. We'd probably be talking about those matches today in the same reverence as Midnights and Rock and Roll. Bulldogs, man, from about 84 until about 89ish, maybe 1990. They were, running hard, but Dynamite was on his last legs as far as his athleticism and his physical abilities go. But they also were tag team champions in WWF at a time that had the best tag teams in the world. They beat the Dream Team in a great match at WrestleMania 2 for the tag team championships. And they held them for a while, feuding with the Rougeaus, or excuse me, not the Rougeaus. They feuded with the Hart Foundation. They feuded with Volkov and Sheik, Iron Sheik, and they revolutionized a style of tag team wrestling. On the other end, you've got the Rockers, who held the AWA World Tag Team Championships. Had an incredible feud, money drawing feud, even though it was on the dying days, a money drawing feud with Playboy.
Doug
Playboy
Summers and Playboy Rose. Yeah.
Buddy Rose. Yep. And with Sherry Martel too. Don't want to forget her. She completed that whole package. And, then they came to WWF and had incredible matches, had an incredible run for a very, very long time, all the way up until 1991. And, a style that is still revered today and still copied today. So if I'm looking back at it as a tag team, I would have to say the Rockers are going to go forward in this one.
Really?
Yes.
You love some Rockers. I think with
unfortunately,
them,
yes, I do.
Yeah, with them we'll get into that one day. With them tagging against the Brainbusters on a few events, I think that raised their stock in your eyes.
For sure.
But they never really got the titles, because the time they won the titles, the rope broke. And they had to break the news to them, hey, guys, we're not airing that. You didn't win the titles. But the Bulldogs held those titles during a very strong time. So, like everybody says, this is personal preference. And this is Dax's personal preference. And he said, so if you disagree, you can go at Hey Conrad on Twitter.
Right, please.
And let him know. Next matchup.
Whoa, you didn't tell. Who do you choose?
Oh, I would choose the Bulldogs in that case.
Wow, okay. I'm surprised that you thought I was going to choose the Rockers.
The thing is that they just man, just the way they squashed fools, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Just and just seeing things like Davey Boy press slamming somebody and Dynamite jumping off of the press slam, top rope superplexes, breaking Mick Foley's jaw on a clothesline. These guys were just, as a kid, I have kid bias. I saw them when I was a kid and I was like, oh man, these guys.
Listen, there's no wrong answer to that match. You know what I'm saying? So there's no wrong answer at all. My thinking and reasoning as to why is because Dynamite got injured, after they won the belts. So they didn't really have a big long feud while they were champions. And even when they were champions, Davey Boy had to team up with other partners to take Dynamite's place because Dynamite couldn't work.
Right.
And then when Dynamite he never really healed, as we know.
No.
But when he had come back, that's when they kind of left WWF. They went to All Japan and worked in All Japan, and they had some pretty good matches in All Japan at the time. But Dynamite his physical abilities were declining. It seemed like every month they were getting worse and worse and worse. So they couldn't reach the heights they should have been able to reach in All Japan. So that's why I choose the Rockers. They changed the style of tag team wrestling. And they took what rock and roll did, and they became, they got the platform that rock and roll should have got.
Right. And if you guys are looking for a good book, Dynamite Kid's book was probably one of the first tell-alls, and it won't make you like Dynamite more, but it's it's a very interesting book. To close out this bracket, we have the Assassins versus the Miracle Violence connection. This is one of those kind of disconnects because we haven't seen the Assassins wrestle a whole bunch. And
Right.
we have this really great view of the Miracle Violence connection because, first of all, the name is badass, first
Oh,
of
yeah.
all. And, I mean, it's as good as Shatter Machine, I got to tell you. Like, that
Yeah,
name
sure.
is amazing. And then you Gordy and Williams, like, you know, go up to one of those guys and call him a punk. See what happens, you know?
Yes. Gordy and Williams, they drew a ton of money in Japan, made a ton of money in Japan. Were a tag team from about 1990 till about 93. And in that stretch, they made, you know, they had some great matches and made some great money for the promotion in all Japan. And then they came to WCW for a little bit, for a short period of time, did some good stuff with the Steiner brothers too. They're still remembered today for. And then you got the Assassins, where there's not nearly as much footage as there is with the Miracle Violence connection. And the Assassins, though, the part about the Assassins are the stories that are continued to be told from the people who saw them and the people who worked with them, or the people who remember them. And, you know, from what I can gather, the Assassins built a psychology, built a tag team psychology. And when you build a tag team psychology, man, there's not too many things you can put against that. They were a masked tag team, and they got over huge. They made a ton of money for a lot of territories, made a ton of money for themselves. And on top of all that, they were great workers too. I haven't seen a ton of footage from them, but what I have seen, they are incredible. They're flawless in the execution of strikes. But also, as far as wrestling goes, they're incredible wrestlers too. Big, huge guys. And I think from the stuff that I've read about, the stuff that I've heard, I'm going to have to send the Assassins on in this part of the tournament.
Right, because the Miracle Violence connection wasn't this long-lived tag team either.
Right.
You know? But they were cool as hell. So look what we have now. Next week, we have the Rockers against the Assassins, and just for fun, the Young Bucks versus the Rock and Roll Express. All
Huge
right.
dream match. Oof.
Right. They probably faced somewhere, you know, they probably wrestled somewhere. So we're in the next bracket. We'll talk about teams as we need to. We are on pace. We're on time. So we're not having to rush through. Midnight Express versus the Valiant Brothers.
Okay. Valiant Brothers, like I said last week, brother tag team, looked the part, dressed the part, looked alike, very big heels, stalling heels. You know what I mean by stalling heels, as far as like trying not to get into the action
Like
to make the
Zbyszko.
fans mad. Right. And they made a ton of money for New York. And then you got the Midnight Express, what I consider to be the greatest tag team of all time. Stan and Bobby were incredible, and they should be up there in the conversation too. But Dennis and Bobby, nobody better. Not one single tag team in the world, in my opinion, were a better working tag team than Bobby and Dennis. Dennis was the guy who was just mean and nasty, and everything he did looked like it could kill you. And he looked like he could kill you. And then Bobby was so fluid in everything he did, all of his maneuvers, all of his running stuff, everything in and out. He was great at it. And they were masters. Well, Dennis was, Bobby took the follow, and then later on Bobby became, but Dennis was a master of psychology, of heel psychology. He knew when to bring it up and he knew when to pull it back down just to get the biggest response, biggest emotional response out of the fans. I don't mean biggest response out of doing the biggest move like nowadays, what people do, you know, guys who say they don't want to work on house shows, but they want to go out there and do the biggest bump they possibly can to get the biggest response for that bump, but nobody gives a shit about them personally. They care about the move. Now Dennis made them care about him, made them care about him and Bobby as a team, and then Cornette running his mouth. What a great package. All that being said, obviously I'm sitting through Dennis and Bobby, the greatest tag team of all time.
You're talking about two guys there, and you and I are on the same page. We, you know, people always joke that you ask people if they're Brett guys or Sean guys, you know, and there's also the, are you a Dennis guy or a Stan guy? No disrespect to Stan, but I'm a Dennis guy 100%. Because
through and through.
Like bands I like, you have every member of that act, Cornette included, redefined what that person should do in that act. Like, Condrey is revolutionary in the things he did. Watch him now and see how many things he does that are now finishers for people. You know, like, there's a lot of different things that he did. Bobby Eaton, his top rope stuff, no one was doing that stuff. And he was doing the knee drops, he was doing the leg drops, and then Jim Cornette grabbing the microphone and announcing their matches. No one was better than Jim Cornette in his prime. So as good as an act as the Valiants were, and if you haven't seen Jimmy Valiant before Boogie Woogie Man, or Luscious Johnny before he managed, or if you don't know who Gentleman Jerry is, check him out, because that was a good act as well.
Right. Bobby at the time is what Ray Phoenix is today.
Right.
Bobby at the time is what Nick Jackson is today. And I'm not comparing the athleticism, because those two guys are way above Bobby. And Bobby, if he were here, he'd tell you the same thing. But people weren't doing the things that Bobby's doing then.
But people don't know Bobby. I'm 6'4". Okay. I've met Bobby Eaton. 6'3", 6'2". Like, he's
Bobby's
big hunk of dude.
6'2". But also, man, like, and then I'll stop talking about the Midnights. Bobby did these phenomenal high flying things in the realm of it all being real too. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
he never sacrificed realism to make sure these beautiful moves got in. And that one day we'll have a whole episode on him. He is
and not to mention that whole bullshit about, hey, don't do high flying moves because you'll get cheered.
Right.
Because Bobby figured that shit out. Bobby figured it out 100%.
Yes,
right.
He sure did.
Because, you know, and then when he was ready to get cheered, he's ready to get cheered. Holy Demon Army against Edge and Christian. You're friends with Edge. He would love to do this match, wouldn't he?
I think so. And this is going to be another one that's going to get the fans mad at me, but I'm going to have to choose Edge and Christian. Holy Demon Army had great matches. They did have great matches, matches that, Dave Meltzer has heralded as 5-star classics, multiple. My thing with the Holy Demon Army, listen, great workers, both great workers, and they had incredible matches. They did. In the tag team realm of things, the matches that are so revered were all with the same people, right? We're all with Misawa and Kobashi, and then maybe
Sure.
later on with Akiyama. But they never kind of escaped from that group of guys. Not saying that's wrong or bad, but they didn't. Edge and Christian, at a time when tag team wrestling, before this, wasn't revered. Edge and Christian brought tag team wrestling up with the Hardy Boys, and then later on with the Dudley Boys. But they got themselves over because of that, and their style of promo and the money feuds they had together. They got to work with the top guys from Austin and Undertaker and Kane, to also working with great tag teams, like I said, Too Cool, Hardys, Dudleys. So they did it all, and that's what I'm saying about, of course I got to make it about myself now. That's what I'm saying about me and Cash. I want us to be able to work with these great tag teams. I want to, if we stay with AEW, man, I want to work with the Top Flight. I want to work with the Acclaim, but also, dude, give me fucking Mox. You know what I mean? Let me show you motherfuckers that I can hang with him if I want to. Give me fucking Bryan Danielson. Give us, me and Cash, Bryan Danielson. Let us show you that we are allowed. We can hang with them if we want to. And then, break us off and let us work with your established or some tag team, a real tag team that you want to establish. That's what Edge and Christian did. That's what their legacy is going to be. They got to work with those top guys, and then they were pulled back to work with Too Cool, and Too Cool was looked at as a main event act, or maybe right there at a main event act. So that's why I'm gonna send Edge and Christian on above Holy Demon Army.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about Edge and Christian because they're going to move on a little bit probably, but we'd like to give our condolences, because I think Christian died on the AEW.
R.I.P. to
pay-per-view.
Christian.
I think he's dead. So
A hell of a burial.
Dude, did you see the shot with the coffin closed?
It's dropped.
That shit shot down to China. Like that shit, I've never seen anything like that. So all the best to the family and friends of Christian. This is a great matchup.
Yes.
The Dudley Boys against Harlem Heat. Man, I got this as a coin flip.
Yeah. You can't choose a wrong answer here. Harlem Heat guys in the mid 90s from 1993 all the way until about 90, beginning of 98. And, they did some stuff past 98 too, but in those years they were carrying tag team wrestling, and I'm saying on both sides of the fence, both WCW and WWF. They were the best tag team in the world at the time. They made money, they drew money. They were an incredible act, especially when Sister Sherry came along. What a great combination that was, and they held the WCW Tag Team Championships 9 times, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 9 different times, WCW Tag Team Champions. They worked with guys all the way from Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater, all the way up to the main event guys, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So they did it all, dude. But as a tag team, I think I'm going to have to go with the Dudley Boys, Everywhere they went, they were successful. ECW, WWF, TNA, New Japan. Everywhere they went, they made their mark, and they drew money, and they made money, and they became champions. They were, and probably still are, I would imagine, the only WWF, ECW, fake WCW, but still WCW, TNA, and IWGP tag team champions.
Right.
The only tag team in the world of all time that can rival that.
Who would that be?
That would be FTR. NXT, Raw, SmackDown, AEW, AAA, IWGP, Ring of Honor tag team champions. So I'm going to have to send the Dudleys through because of that.
I'm so glad you did, because if there's anybody who would care about this tournament in the world, it would be Bully Ray. Like Bully Ray would.
He would also tell you.
It.
He would also tell you he don't care, because he told me when I was on Busted Open last week, I don't care. Yes, you do. We know you.
Yeah.
We know you, dude.
If you say a tag team's better than the Dudley Boys, that's like if a wrestler wears orange to the ring in front of Taz. Like, you're just asking for trouble.
or if you're just a human being walking down the street wearing orange in front of Taz.
If you're eating an orange, Taz will come up to you and tell you, tuck your head, brother, and then it's over.
If you have if you have something purple on and he mistakes it as orange, you're fucked, dude.
It's over. One of my great pleasures of life is when Conrad introduced me to Taz, and Taz goes, "Oh, the music guy." And I was like, okay, I've arrived. Yeah. Love Taz so much.
Me too.
Patterson and Stevens versus the New Age Outlaws, which is interesting, because the New Age Outlaws had some interactions with the older Patterson. Patterson and Stevens, heralded by many as the greatest tag team of all time. The New Age Outlaws, the ultimate sports entertainment worker/talker tag team at the height of the Attitude Era. How do you see this one?
So if you look at New Age Outlaws and their time together as a team in WWF, it wasn't very long, man. It was, and I'm maybe being generous when I say 2 years, it was the very, 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 very end of 1987 is when they started teaming. But they didn't come into prominence until 98, right?
Right.
And
after
then,
the attack on Cactus after WrestleMania.
Right. And then some personal things led to, them, not working together. And then they did go to TNA, but there's nothing really memorable about the TNA run. Look, I think they're one of the greatest.
Nothing good.
Right. Yeah.
There's some stuff. Yeah.
I think they're one of the most influential teams in our history, right? Regardless what I think about Road Dogg, they're still one of the most influential tag teams in the history of wrestling. But we're talking about possibly the most influential tag team of all time, in Patterson and Stevens, right? Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson are heralded as the greatest in-ring working tag team ever. And they drew a ton of money. And they did, they looked alike and they dressed alike and they got heat. And I've only seen clips of their stuff. I've never seen full matches. I've seen clips of their stuff, but all the research I've done, everybody I've talked to about Patterson and Stevens, they were the best. They were the greatest.
Drew money too.
And they drew money, and nobody comes close to them. As far as the heel tag teams go, the chicken shit heel tag teams, bumping heel tag teams, they were the best, man, apparently. And so I'm gonna have to send Patterson and Stevens on.
So I'm laughing at the stuff you're saying about Taz. So we have the next round matchups, man. The Patterson Stevens versus the Dudleys. But man, are you in trouble next week? Because we have the Midnight Express against Edge and Christian. All right. So this is so fun right here. This is the height of the Attitude Era and the height of Nitro against each other. Hardy Boys versus Hall and Nash. I imagine you go with the Hardys just because of the legacy, right?
The legacy, the longevity, on top of that, influence on the business as far as tag teams go, money drawn, money made, tag team championships won. You have to go with the Hardy Boys. As much as I respect Hall and Nash for what they did and how they changed the business, as in a tag team tournament, you can't go against the Hardys in this one, because there came a lot of copycats, right after us in the tag team divisions around the world on independent wrestling. They all dressed like Matt and Jeff, and then all of them tried to wrestle like Jeff Hardy, doing the flips and trying to kill themselves. And most of them did kill themselves. Jeff just happened to stay alive because he's smart enough to do it. They won the WWF Tag Team Championships. They won the fake WCW Tag Team Championships. They won the TNA Tag Team Championship. If I'm not mistaken, they won the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships as well.
Yep.
They're the only teams to have done that. And
their longevity is almost second to none on this whole list.
Right. The only one that rivals them is Rock and Roll. But the difference is the Hardys have done it on a national scale for as long as they have. Rock and Roll really didn't get the opportunity to do it on a national scale forever. So that's why we're going to go with, in the tag team tournament, we're going to go with Hardy Boys.
Just to make that clear. So Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. against Big E, Xavier, and Kofi, two of those three. Funks versus New Day.
Yeah, man. Dory and Terry individually probably are bigger stars, at the peak of their career, bigger stars. As a team, I got to go with New Day. And, someone else said something about, it was Conrad that texted me that said that, because I didn't send the Freebirds through or something. He said, Freebirds are a 3-man unit, but New Day isn't. Okay, Conrad. So here's the deal with the New Day. New Day are multi-time tag team champions. And when they have had their feuds have been focused on the tag team, right? On
Right.
Two of the three being a team.
Right.
When it was the Freebirds, right? It was a 6-man feud. It was a 3-man unit against a 3-man unit. And that's why on a tag team tournament, I didn't send them along. New Day, on the other hand, became for a period of time, or the longest reigning WWF, WWE, whatever, tag team champions. I think their effect on the business as a tag team is going to be even deeper and looked at more revered than the Funks were. The Funks were huge in Japan, made a ton of money in Japan, made a shit ton of money in Japan as a tag team, but also as individuals too. But as a tag team, this is probably going to get a ton of people upset with me, but I'm going to have to go with New Day. Again, a team that's been together for almost 10 straight years, and they're still doing it right now. They're still on the top of the card. They've been in main event angles. They've also been in just tag team angles, multi-time tag team champions. So that's why I'm going to go with the New Day here.
For sure. Not just the biggest company, but the biggest company of all time.
Right.
You have the Briscoe brothers, which is, of course, Jack and Jerry, versus the Hart Foundation. We talked a lot about the Briscoe brothers last week, but as a tag team, the Hart's got to go through.
Hart's going through for sure, because they were a team that were together from 84 until 1991, almost 92. Excuse me. And they were 2-time WWF tag team champions in a tag team division that was completely and utterly stacked. They drew money with the Bulldogs. They drew money with Demolition. They had incredible matches too. Briscoe brothers, again, a revolutionary brother tag team as babyface and heels, made money, drew money, had great matches, but as a team, Hart Foundation did all that as a babyface and heel, and then some. And then on top of that, they had Jimmy Hart too, which we didn't talk about at all last week. As a heel, they had Jimmy Hart, which completed that package, got them even more heat. And again, the biggest company of all time, they were the champions twice over, and I think they move on.
And they also got organically over. Like I remember when they got put together, Jim Neidhart was winning matches. He was managed by Mr. Fuji. Bret Hart wasn't doing a whole bunch. And when they put them together, they put the act together. They had the heart attack. People took notice, and it would have been easy not to. So, right. It wasn't like this situation where we have the Steiner brothers coming up next, where you take a look at those two guys, you go, well, they're amazing. They became amazing, and they made everybody believe they're amazing. Last one in this bracket, Steiners versus Brody and Hanson.
What a badass match that's going to be. Oh my God. That would have
oh my God. I just pulled my arm just thinking about the match.
My God. I'm surprised that's all you pulled. Of course, Brody and Hanson made a ton of money in Japan, but so did the Steiner brothers. Brody and Hanson were only a team for a short period of time. Steiner brothers, however, were a team from 1989 all the way until 1998, till mid 98. And a team that changed again, that made their own style, created their own style where people tried to copy, but it didn't work. Brother tag team, drew money everywhere they went, won tag team championships everywhere they went to, WWF tag team champions, WCW tag team champions, NWA tag team champions, New Japan tag team champions, or IWGP tag team champions. And like I said, great matches, revered by their peers, or revered by the fans. And the Steiners in this match, where everybody's going to beat the shit out of each other, the Steiners are going to go through.
The Steiners, you can't beat those Steiners. Hey, speaking of the things that can't get beat, a couple weeks ago, you made the announcement that you might be getting some special belts made for fans to buy, for you and Cash to sign. And that's going to be through our good friends over at Main Event Belts. Because if you've ever dreamt of being in the main event, you can now with Main Event Belts over at maineventbelts.com, where they have real belts. Matter of fact, if you have a belt that's pretty good and the leather's not good, or the crystals aren't good, you can get it re-leathered. You can get Swarovskis, you can get cubic zirconias, you can get your belt to be real. Because if you want your replica to be more like the real belts you see in the top promotions, then go to Main Event Belts. They've worked with many independent promoters around the world. We're looking for quality at an affordable price. Now, we're talking top of the line stuff. This stuff is great. And for you to get a belt of this quality for $999 is amazing. But you can also get a discount, 10% off, using the promo code FTR10. You can get a custom belt for, if you want a replica belt, or if you can get something done for your work or your bowling team or anybody really, a friend of yours, you can get a belt made. You go to maineventbelts.com, get a real championship belt starting from only $999. But promo code FTR10, 10% off. We're all very excited about the 7-star belts there, Dax.
Yeah. Right now I'm looking at my replica IWGP, Ring of Honor, AAA, AEW, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT Tag Team Championship belts. And I just thought that I wanted to do something special for myself and Cash, and that was get a legacy belt made to cover all of our career accomplishments, something we can remember for the rest of our lives. And, I talked to Main Event Belts, and they were very accommodating and wanted to do it. But also he took it a step further and said that he wanted to offer it to the fans too. And so we're going to have a certain number of those legacy belts made. They're going to be offered to the fans. I don't know how he's going to choose what fans to give them to, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to his creation and what he's going to do for myself and Cash is super exciting. Everybody has belts nowadays. I went into Starbucks just yesterday, and they had a championship belt hanging up on their wall. Wow. Yeah, and it was for fastest service or something like that. But everyone has it from football teams all the way to fantasy football teams, card or poker games, fucking badminton, whatever you want to do. Now championships are the brand new trophy. So if you need a trophy, if you need a championship to represent you or your sports league, that's the place to go, maineventbelts.com.
And if you want to like intimidate the shit out of your badminton opponent, just bring a belt out that says badminton champion. Go to maineventbelts.com. You can do that. So we're in the last bracket of our tag team tournament here. Let's see who we got now. There are so many tag teams. Oh boy. Okay. So this match is going to be an amazing match. Big Little, LOD versus the Lucha Bros. Lucha Bros have taken that lucha style, 21st century lucha style into the mainstream, but LOD, I don't see LOD going down to the Lucha Bros.
As far as tag teams go, LOD completely different stratosphere, than almost anybody in the world. Everywhere they went, the only tag team in the world to be AWA, WWF, NWA, and then eventually WCW World Tag Team Champions. They also went to All Japan and, won the championship belts there. But everywhere they went, drew a ton of money, made a ton of money for that promotion, made a ton of money for themselves. Also, like we've said before, a ton of copycat styles, a ton of copycats after them, from WWF, the biggest promotion in the world at the time, all the way to the independents. Everyone's tried to copy them, to copy their style, copy their look. They're probably the most successful tag team, monetarily successful tag team of all time. Would you agree?
I would, because man, they were just, they were so original and different. They were so original and different. And you knew when that Iron Man hit, when that first note of Iron Man hit, and they would attack people before the first chord, there was nothing better than that. Not to mention, you said Copycats, Warlord, Barbarian, Demolition, so many different people just aping the look, trying to recreate the success, but no one could. I wish WWE got them and they didn't try to bring him in with a puppet and all that shit. Yeah. But for me, when I think of LOD, I think of the Road Warriors. I think of pre-WWE. I see them going really far. Speaking of Demolition, this is a tough one. Demolition versus the Usos.
Yeah. So Demolition were a tag team from about 87 until 1991. And even in 1991, it really wasn't the original Demolition. It was Crush, and mostly Crush and Smash with Bill Eadie every once in a while. Great tag team. Again, great feuds, drew a ton of money as baby faces and heels, 3-time WWF tag team champions. However, you got the Usos on the other side, who have been a tag team for almost 15 years. Right now, the biggest storyline in the world, in the wrestling world, main event level talent, could be stuck in the main event right now, and nobody would, like I said, look bad eye at it. Multi-time tag team champions, longest reigning WWF tag team, WWE tag team champions of all times. I'm going to have to send the Usos forward above Demolition. And, as much as it pains me to see Demolition go, because I love Demolition, I love Bill Eadie. They were a great working tag team, much better working tag team than LOD. But I think that longevity, and I think match quality, feuds, angles, and money draws.
Now they're headlining.
It's got to be the Usos.
And that's of course no disrespect, because as we said before, Dax and Cash came from Axe and Smash. Arn and Tully against the first round kind of upsets the Motor City Machine Guns. Who you got? I'm thinking the Motor City Machine Gun Cinderella story is over.
I think so too. As much as I hate to say it, because Motor City Machine Guns were never really on that big national scale. It sucks that at a time, there was only the WWF or WWE, and TNA, never really took off to the heights it could have and should have probably. But Motor City, their influence is still felt today. Their style, no one else could recreate. Everybody tried to. No one else could recreate their style. They were it. They pioneered a style that the Young Bucks have taken and made their own. That's what I feel, and that I don't mean that negatively. I'm sure someone will make it that way, and I'll get in trouble. But a team that I love and respect as much as Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. On the other side, you got Arn and Tully, a tag team that drew a ton of money in the two biggest professional wrestling promotions at the time, NWA and WWF. They were the first ever NWA and WWF tag team champions. Incredible matches, a great catalog of matches, even bigger catalog of money drawn, of angles with the money they've drawn. The style of the frenetic pace they created is what a lot of heel tag teams, myself and Cash included, have tried to copy and tried to perfect. You had the Stopper and Arn, who was a big burly bastard, but also knew exactly when to take a bump. And then you had the chicken shit rich boy heel and Tully Blanchard, who was an incredible worker, big, huge gas tank, never blew up, always tried to blow his opponents up. They main evented everywhere from Greensboro Coliseum all the way to Madison Square Garden and everywhere in between. And so, yeah, you're going to have to send Arn and Tully on. And I don't think Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin would be too upset with that.
No, I think they did good. And again, very underrated tag team that lived under the TNA bubble. Our last second round matchup, Fabulous Kangaroos versus the Briscoes. It's just kind of ridiculous. It's ludicrous. The Fabulous Kangaroos, which not ludicrous, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, against your guys, the Briscoes.
The reason we have tag team wrestling and the reason tag team wrestling is successful is because of the Fabulous Kangaroos. Everything I've read, everything I've heard, everybody I've talked to, they are the reason tag team wrestling became popular. And as much as obviously I revere and love Mark and Jay for what they've done for myself and my family, and Cash for what they've done for tag team wrestling and what they've accomplished and how great they were, still you got to send the Kangaroos through because of what they did for tag team wrestling. Because who knows, without the Kangaroos, there may not have been a Briscoes. There may not have been an FTR. There may not have been any tag team wrestling. Who knows? Right. They were the pioneers of tag team wrestling. They created this whole gimmick match. They created it and were the top drawing tag team for a very long time. So I'm going to have to reluctantly send the Kangaroos through.
And we have our second round matchups. We're going to talk about off air whether to reseed or not. But we have our top 16, our Sweet 16. And now we're going to do Takeover Dallas, just a watch along. We're not going to talk about the whole event because we just wanted to give something extra to you guys. And also, a lot of people want to hear about this match. The last time we did a watch along, I asked a lot of questions during the match, and I think it may have interrupted the flow of what you were talking about a little bit. So just a couple questions about it before we get started. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So there's a point in the match where there's an assisted powerbomb attempt, and it didn't go the way it should have. Now the crowd starts chanting, "You fucked up," and they chanted "Botchamania." You kind of played it really cool in that situation where you just kind of smiled at the crowd. Yep. But were you like super pissed off that was the reaction from the crowd?
No, not at all. Because I mean, if that's going to happen, those things are going to happen. And the crowd a lot of times think they are smarter than the performers. And neither tag team had the respect of the crowd yet anyway. But if I were to have fought that, or if I would have tried to move on, they would have just cheered louder. I knew we could get them back. And so what I did when that happened was I just stopped, right? I let them get it out their system. And then I knew we were going to blow them away. Right. All of us, all four of us were going to blow them away with the stuff we had. And I knew they'd forget about it. I remember it, and it was embarrassing. It did suck. And there's a reason for it. And I'll let Chad Gable explain that reason one day if he ever decides to. But that's not for me to tell.
One other question before we get started with it. And by the way, guys, while we're talking, go ahead and go to Peacock and look up NXT
Unfortunately.
oh my God, Takeover
Jeez.
Dallas. And I think we're going to run it from the beginning of the show because your match starts like 2 minutes in.
Mhm.
So just go to 000, guys. One more question. Man, I wanted a ticket to this event so bad for me and Matthew, and there was none to be found. Secondary market prices on this event, Sammy Shinsuke headlining, were up $400-500 a ticket.
Jeez.
It was insane. And then I had extra WrestleMania tickets, so I found a guy and we traded tickets. So I got to go to see this event with Matthew. The atmosphere, you said you guys weren't over yet. You wouldn't know it by that crowd. Is this the best crowd you've ever been in front of? Because man, oh man, it was like electric.
Up until that point, probably the best crowd we've ever been in front of. Yes. There have been some crowds that have taken over now, and with the inception of AEW and us coming there.
Sure.
But up until that point, yeah, definitely the hottest crowd we had performed in front of. London was pretty hot too, though. The a few months prior, when we wrestled Enzo and Cass, which I think we should do a whole episode on
Let's do that
Enzo
for
and
sure.
Cass.
And the takeover, like Enzo and Cass really, we should remember how good that tag team was, and good for Big Bill for doing what he's doing now in AEW. So guys, get on your Peacock. Like we said, it's not the most ideal platform. Go to NXT Takeover, go to the very Takeover Dallas, which is season 3, episode 1, whatever the hell that means. And just go to 000. Are you set up on your iPad there, Dax Harwood?
I'm ready to go.
All right. So we're going to play in 3. Oh, make sure to mute. Are you muted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, play. What an exciting time for WWE. What an exciting time for NXT. We're seeing just the promo that plays in front. What was your goal coming into this event? You knew it was Alpha's time. They'd only been tagging since July, and yet here they are. They seem to be ready though, right?
Yeah, our goal was first and foremost was to steal the show. Like, we wanted to have the best possible tag team match that we could, and we knew with these guys we had some fucking studs, dude, because they're incredible. They're incredible professional wrestlers, but even more than that, they're incredible athletes, and they don't blow up. And we tried to blow them up. They tried to blow us up, and it just never would happen because we had worked on house shows leading up to this. And I think the house shows that we worked with them leading up to this and then after were better than this Dallas match. We're probably better than any of the matches that were actually televised, because there were times when we went 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and those matches they're just off the chain. And off the chain. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. That sounds
Off
so
the
cool.
chain.
Jesus God, if you can edit that out, edit that shit out. But they were matches where you could tell 2 different teams, 4 different guys trying to push each other to be better, but also wanting to tell each other, hey, no, we're the best. We're the best at this. But also having respect and admiration for each other. And we all became very, 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 very good friends. Still talk to Chad Gable today. I talked to him right before his match with Baron Corbin last week. I love him to death. And I think probably the most, you said Dawkins. I think Chad Gable's the most underrated wrestler in the world right now.
He's great. Not so sure what I think about the shush thing, but I think he is great. The montage, it does a cool little collection of historical wrestling Texas figures, and you see the Funks, you saw Tully, you saw the Von Erichs, and then showing the talent of NXT today. NXT was almost cocky in its presentation because they knew something special was going on. Y'all had to know it too, right?
For sure. I mean, I don't think we ever thought to ourselves, we're better than Raw, we're better than SmackDown, we're better than WWE, or whatever. I don't think we ever thought that about ourselves. I think we thought we want to be better than them. We want people to think we're better than them. We want to rival them. And, that's why whenever the takeovers happened, which would happen before the bigger pay-per-views, we wanted to steal the weekend. Everybody did. And it wasn't because of an egotistical thing. It's because we wanted to be looked at as better than, at least on par with what you saw on Mondays and Thursdays or whatever it was that night.
that camera shot is like right where we were sitting. We were just so far back. And here comes Alpha. The place is ready. The place is going crazy. Jason Jordan had been around for a while. Chad Gable was a little newer. Chad Gable comes in, and all of a sudden, they got personality. They got matching tracksuits. They got tag team understanding. Alpha was hitting. Everybody was loving them. And look at their swagger going to the ring. That's the opposite of Boo Boo Face, what I'm looking at right there.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, they had the look. They had the charisma. Obviously, it was very early on in their careers, but they still had it. Like they had verbal charisma, but they also had that like I was talking about earlier with Dawkins, that inside charisma too, that you could just feel. They had that the brand new track suits, and they were the very first guys out of the gate here on the takeover. And we knew, all four of us knew, we wanted to steal the show.
And speaking of which, look how, God, they just were so young and so good. And in the ring, and we're waiting. There's the revival. I love the Titantron. Dawson on one side, Wilder on the other, the revival in the center. And here you guys come. Of course, you're starving yourself to death, as appears Cassius as well. You guys are very skinny here. But you guys look like you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. This is our first opportunity outside of London, but this is our first real opportunity to, prove our worth, prove what we could do. I am cringing right now at how much I'm acting. That makes me so disgusted. You should feel something. And I think I was feeling it, but we weren't over, like you said, like you couldn't tell in the arena. But again, there's a difference between noise and there's a difference between being over. And I think I was overcompensating for not being over by yelling and stomping and screaming and all this stuff, instead of just being confident in what I was about to deliver to the fans.
And there is Dawson, as well as America's #1 squirrel videographer, Cash. You guys got to check out the squirrel videos on Twitter, man. What is your intention here as you're starting? And the lockup is. Oh my God.
The lockup is the intention right now, is to get the people immediately on the lockup. We want to work the lockup, because I don't want to move on from the lockup. Like I told you before, that's the thing to set the pace. That's where you show the people what kind of matches is going to be from now on. Back him to the corner after we work the lockup a little bit. And, for the things we had built up, he was a little amateur boy. That was my thing. I think I even say it here. He's just a little amateur boy, and we were professional wrestlers. And, just being the schoolyard bully right now is what I'm presenting.
Did this match have a producer, an agent?
Yeah. Matt Bloom was our agent. He trusted us. This is the match where Road Dogg got mad at me because I didn't use his advice or his spot that he planned for us.
What was the spot?
I can't even remember, but it was never like, oh God, I'm not going to do that, Road Dogg. It was like, okay, maybe we'll do that. And we just didn't. And then he was upset about it. Right now, just trying to accentuate all of Chad Gable's positives, but also letting people know I can keep up with him. That's how you get the heel. That's how a heel gets over, is by being able to deliver the execution, but also keeping up with that baby face who outquicks him. And then, I give it all back to him.
But you're not on his level as an amateur wrestler. Right. So you're just like, hold on a second. Let's just back up.
And then right here, doing this, we get over the gimmick of the tag team match. It makes it different than a singles match because you got 4 guys where it could be a combustible element where it's going to be even harder to make the referee keep control, that's all we wanted to tell in that story. Like, that's what we can do different than any singles match you're going to see. And then the referee had to step in and hopefully try to keep control, but that's going to be even harder than it would in a singles match because you got 2 other entities in the ring. And right now we slow it down in a wrestling hold. In a wrestling hold, high spots happen because of holds, because someone's trying to get out of a hold. And that's exactly what goes on here. I had him in a hold. He was coming out of it. And so I pulled his hair and got out of it. And then we run the spot.
And you're just waiting for the time to get the 2-on-1 advantage, because that's the Revival's deal.
Right.
It's not 2-1-1 matches. And look at you run the ropes. Look at young Scott Dawson run the ropes.
Mm-hmm. Flying head scissors, no one does anymore.
That's a different kind of head scissors, like a victory roll kind of thing.
Yeah. Very Brad Armstrongish. Gable was a heavy son of a bitch, dude. I'll tell you that much.
What does that mean? He's not the biggest guy. What does that mean? He's heavy.
I'm just saying, in the head scissors, I always made fun of him for being heavy. He was just a compact little dude, man. And right here, what we're trying to do is get over the referee. I made a tag on the outside. The referee says, no, that's illegal. But at the same opportunity, with the referee's back turned, I cut off the baby face, and instead of just doing it in front of the referee, which a lot of people do now, that's how you get the heat, man. That's how you get the heat, is you distract the referee without it being hokey, and you attack attack the baby face illegally from behind. And we still put the baby face over right after that. He bumped both of us around. In comes his partner, and they again, that gets over the gimmick of the tag match. 4 guys in the ring, 2 of the 2 baby faces overcoming the 2 heels with double backdrops. The action has not stopped yet. And that was, we wanted to keep that frenetic pace up throughout the whole match. And there you go. The baby face, they've been working the arm, and now he goes right back to that arm. And we're
Gable's so smooth in there.
Oh yeah. And there we are reaching for the tag. Always a tag team should be reaching for that tag. And we've stopped the babyface. We put the babyface at a deficit. We've put him, he's got to overcome this obstacle. It's a small obstacle. And now we've just put him down, and as you can see, I'll have him fight back valiantly.
Placing him on the top rope, and interesting backflip reversal.
O'Connor roll to the crossbody. And we just keep we keep the movement going. You slow down for a second, like I said, Gable slowed down with the arm bar. We cut him off, slowed it down, then we picked it all back up. And here we go again. Another way to distract the referee. Gable tried to do a drop kick on Dan. Didn't work. The referee was distracted, so we got a chance to double team him, but they still overcame that small obstacle into the double drop kicks, double ducks, and here come the double Germans.
This is a great moment.
And that's how you get the people going. That's how you make them care about our baby faces. If you watch this whole first 5 minutes, dude, we're sacrificing everything as heels. We're sacrificing everything to give to these baby faces, so the people care about these baby faces. I know, in today's climate, and even 2016 climate, they're not going to hate us, but we can make them care so much about these baby faces. In turn, they will boo us, and every opportunity, they still come out on top.
I love how hype Jordan is. He's so hype in this match.
Oh, yeah.
He's like just on full speed all the time. I love this tag. Textbook tag right there.
A blind tag here, and still have the baby face overcome. And then again, he chases the illegal heel, and the brand new legal heel stops him. Everything we just did was legal. Every single thing, but it was shitty. It was done in a shitty way where
Right.
people could say, "Oh, come on, why did you do that?" The referee couldn't say anything to us because all I was doing was backing off and begging off from Gable. After I had just made the tag to my partner, who got bumped to the floor.
Using the advantage, using the rules to your advantage in a shitty way.
And now as heels is when you got to step on the gas. Is when you got to turn up the heat, And by turn up the heat, I mean we've gotten bumped around so much. We've almost made ourselves look like fools a little bit because the baby faces have overcome everything we've thrown at them. And in doing that, when it's your time to get the heat, you have to show the people you can kick ass. It's not the time to get all these beautiful moves in. There's an opportunity for that. But initially, you got to change your gear. You got to show these people that you can kick ass when the time calls for it. And the time called for it there. That's why we had an extended gear change. And now, as you see, Cash is shutting him down and holding him down in a hold to allow the people to digest everything that we've given them. And now they're allowed to understand what's going on. We've got him trapped. They get that. And we keep him in the hold. Because so many people now, and then too, so many people get up out of the hold, and it's either 3 elbows or something, how they escape the hold. But you can hold on to it and trick the people so they don't know what's going on. This is a Cash and Dax or Dawson and Dash special here, holding the arm and the reach a lot of people took from us, which is fun. I'm very flattered by that. It was an opportunity to show the drama, which the drama is this: the babyface reaching and begging for the tag to his best friend, and we still ultimately hold him down. Now I got him locked in the Gory special, where he crank on it and work him over some more again with another hold, and I can. I know the match, but we're going to allow him to come out of the hold, and that's going to create more movement and more excitement because he came out of and overcame a hold. Here comes the illegal heel, but the illegal heel never strikes that baby face. Like we get in between the middle of them, double jump here, reaching for the tag into the double DDT. Again, he has overcome both of us. Even the illegal guy who came in, never hit him. But the illegal guy came in and he overcame both of us. And here we go. Illegal guy grabbing the illegal baby face, pulling him down.
Oh, crawling under the ring to do it.
Yep. The referee, Cash, goes in and out. So the referee doesn't have to go with Cash, but he goes with Jason Jordan into the missed deal. And it got lost here. And I hate that it got lost here. But the referee knew who was the legal heel.
Oh, it's great, though.
And he made a switch out. That just puts over the referee. Without having to waste any false finish, that puts over the referee as being this authoritative figure. And all the referees we worked with, they were always so appreciative of us being extra careful in their presentation. And extra careful. There? The referee is Sean
Bennett.
Sean Bennett. Yep. He's been there for almost as long as from when I started. The Bobby Eaton crotch here, as Cash likes to call it. And here we go. Something that is always that usually leads to a hot tag, we stop it. So the fans think they know when it's coming, but they don't. That's when you got them, is when you trick them. You got to trick them. You can't just paint by numbers throughout the heat. You have to trick them. Crawl through the legs, and it came out of nowhere. The people lost their minds for it. Jason Jordan, an incredible babyface, maybe the greatest hot tag of all time, dude. As far as like intensity goes,
kick, bro. That drop
everything
kick,
he does,
just my God.
And he could scream and go crazy and never blow up, which is very, very hard to do, especially in front of 10,000 people, dude. He is a machine.
He seems physically very strong.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I wish you could have seen him work out at the PC, dude. He was incredibly strong, like effortlessly strong.
But then he had all this great technique too. So when he's doing these suplexes and these drop kicks, it's as good as anybody's ever done them, quite honestly.
I think Jason Jordan, could have
big what if in wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Could have and should have been a huge star. Unfortunately, he had some neck issues, which he was even dealing with at the time here. Here we go. A revival false finish here. I wish we'd have told Bennett to wait on the count a little bit, give us a little creative freedom, and not start the count until right as soon as Cash hooked my feet. That's another thing, like for false finishes and stuff, especially as heels, it's not just hitting moves. It's scenarios you paint around whatever that final piece of the puzzle is. For us, it was a cheap roll-up here, but at the time. Again, another scenario painted right here. The O'Connor roll was just a distraction in the false finish to get the save to be the real reaction for the false finish and the real false finish.
The timing on the uppercut by Cash outside was great.
Yep. An oldie but a goodie. People believed it too.
Right.
And again, this, like I said, this match has been like pedal to the metal, dude. Gas to the floor.
Non-stop. Just non-stop.
And none of the people remember the powerbomb miss. You know what I mean? Nobody.
Nope. And the fans were electric here. Here's another great, Jesus Christ. Look at that over the head, belly to belly by George.
Cash pulls me out of the way here. And again, scenarios painted around the false finish of just a roll-up because we're heels, right? And then one of my favorite things to do, blow up in pinning scenarios. Look at me trying to blow Gable up. This motherfucker will not blow up.
Yeah, you don't usually see this, the pinning sequence at this stage of the match either.
No. And now I think, after this, I don't think all the people believed in every single pin we had, but it was just, we were just trying to show the people we're desperate to get a pin now. That winning this match is the most important thing in our lives at that moment. That's why we're doing every single pin. And they also respected the fact that we're giving so much effort into it. It made them even more electric, made them even more into the match. The blind tag happened. Which is right into the finish. Cash tries to jump in for the save, and it just doesn't work this time. And the people lose their minds. Because the perennial baby faces have achieved what they set out to achieve. They overcame every obstacle we set in their way, even to the very final end of winning the biggest obstacle, and that was beating us for the almost at AEW, the NXT Tag Team Championships. What a match, dude. What a time. I think that went maybe 13 minutes or something like that, 15 minutes maybe. So not every great match has to be 40, 50, 60, 90 minutes. You know what I mean? You get the time that you're allotted and you make the most of it. And it have to be super false finish heavy either. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that finish by American Alpha is an amazing move. Just such a great idea.
Great amplitude. Like
something Hunter would have come up with or something. It's just different.
I think that was their idea. They wanted to utilize a suplex, and Jordan, being the power guy, could just toss people up. I never felt more safe than I did in the hands of Jason Jordan.
And the match, the response by the crowd, everybody's into it.
And that's what you work for. Like I've told you before, I feel that wrestlers nowadays work so hard and work so much towards the false finish. They work so much into tricking the fans instead of working so hard to the finish and for the finish. The finish is what should be the biggest reaction. The finish is the thing that the people should remember the most. And I think a lot of the wrestlers nowadays work so hard for the false finishes, and to me, the false finishes make the false finishes mean something more than the actual finish, man. And that's, in my opinion, that's not the way to go.
And as a fan, the look on Jason Jordan's face is what you want to see. Like this guy who's been in developmental for so long, trying to catch on for so long, had his tag team with your friend Sean Spears, had all kinds of things going on, and now you have this look in his face, like finally, I'm here. Everybody
can associate with that feeling.
Absolutely. Kota Ibushi in the crowd. Hey, different times. So there it is, folks. Takeover Dallas. I had an audio issue towards the end, but Dax carried us through. What
I
a
had no
great
idea.
match. Yeah. I was
Okay.
plugging in and out like a madman. If you watch the video, it's ridiculous. But
Speaking of plugging in and out, Blue Chew is our sponsor.
if you need help plugging in and out, bluechew.com/Dax, hit that up. Make sure to get tickets for our live show, everybody, over at FTRWithDax.com. March 30th, we got the Pinnacle. We got Hobbs. We have Tequila. We got LA, Los Angeles. It's going to be an amazing time. Get your tickets today. We're going to have such a good time. We're going to go ahead. This show's going a little bit long, so I think we have enough tag team matches we've talked about today. I don't think we need a tag team of the match of the week unless you had one pick, Dax.
No, I didn't have a match of the week picked. I would say let Dallas be your match of the week. Watch it. Let me know what you think. Tag us. Use the hashtag if you don't mind. That helps us out a lot. But let me know what you think, where you consider that match in one of the more recent era of tag team matches. I'd love to hear.
And if you want to advertise on the show, go to advertisewithftr.com and you can get your product in front of a largely male demographic, 25 to 44. And it's a great way to get your product out there. Just ask any of our sponsors. And Dax, hopefully we see you on Dynamite. Hopefully we see you in a tag team match. And next week, we're going to get to the Sweet 16. I'm very excited about
getting it hard.
This. Yeah, man, I'm telling you right now, we're already going to raise some feathers, but next week we're going to raise some more. Another great episode, Dax. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks again to all the fans. Did you have fun today?
Thank you. I have fun every single week. This is one of the most fun things I've ever done in my career. I appreciate you for inviting me along on this ride. I appreciate all the fans jumping on board with us along for this ride. I say it every week, and I hope nobody gets sick of me saying it. But I'm about to walk upstairs with my wife and my daughter. And the reason I'm able to do that and hang out with them is because of the fans, because of the adulation, the admiration they have for me, and the love they have for me and Cash. And like I said, it's tenfold back to you guys. Thank you for showing the wrestling world that you actually care about us. And I can't tell you enough that we love you. And I look forward to seeing you at our live show because it's going to be a hell of a time.
Tore it down, waiting on them, but they're here now. Here they come to burn the town. Like Conrad and Double A, they'll send your soul to judgment day. Respect the past and what it say. You better move your ass out of the way. Tore it down, waiting on them, but they're here now. Here they come to burn the town. Like Conrad and Double A, they'll send your soul to judgment day. Respect the past and what it say. You better move